Hey, it's me, Saul, and welcome to another Duel Links discussion video. Today I wanted to talk about the tier 0 Onomat issue in Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links currently, and literally just have a discussion about the ways in which, or the best way in which I think we can fix it. But I can't proceed with recording this video without putting forward a massive thank you to everyone who subscribed and currently watching this video. This morning we hit 1,000 subscribers on the channel, and so this is not the video I should do. I didn't think that was gonna happen for another day or two at least. So that kind of threw a wrench in my whole schedule because you guys are animals and I love you. So thank you guys so much for helping the channel get to this point. I'm gonna make a video properly addressing that later on. But today we are here in the here and now to talk about Onomat. So let's get started. So for a discussion like this to take place, we have to establish two things. One, we have to agree between me and you and I, that Onomats are a tier 0 deck, one, and two, okay, just had to sort that out real quick. And two, we have to agree that them being tier 0 is a problem. So let's start with the first issue. Are Onomats currently a tier 0 deck? Now, I'm hesitant. I'm one of the most hesitant people to call a deck tier 0 because once a deck is established as being tier 0, it's automatically begun to be seen as a problem by a lot of people. So if you like a deck, you don't want it to be called tier 0, and I am a fan of Onomats. But based on just recent events, I haven't actually played Onomats myself since Rhinobus got added into the mix, I'll be honest, but I've watched so many tournaments in the KCGT that took place. Onomats are dominating in a way that no other deck is right now, right? Like if you check the Duel Links meta, the Top Player Council just released their statement explaining why it's tier 0 and breaking that down. So just understand that for this video to take place, I'm going to be going on under the assumption that yes, Onomats is a tier 0 deck in the current format, and that's important, right? Because what a lot of people will say is, oh, but Onomats is weaker than like Dark Lords, or it's weaker than Six Samurai, or these other tier 0 decks that we've had in the past. And that is true. I think Onomats is one of the weaker tier 0 decks that we've had, but you can't look at a deck in isolation. You have to look at the meta surrounding it. Tier 0 isn't, oh, how strong is this deck? Tier 0 is, how strong is this deck compared to everything else that it's in the meta with, right? All of the other fish swimming in the pool, how big are they as compares to this shark? And so even though Onomats might not be the strongest tier 0 deck, in the format in which they currently exist, I believe them to be a tier 0 deck, right? And a lot of people will inherently see the problem with that, but if you don't inherently think of that as a problem, well, if a deck is tier 0, then it gets played everywhere. That's all you see, and so it becomes boring to watch competitive play because you're just watching the same matchups over and over again. It becomes boring to playing competitive because you're facing the same deck over and over again. You can't play the other decks that you want to play because you know you're most likely going to lose. Like if you enter with Onomats and you have a 50% chance to win an event, if there's a cash prize, of course you're going to enter with Onomats. This is no shade or hate to any Onomat players, because I'm an Onomat player, right? It just makes logical sense to enter with the deck that gives you the best chance, but then that creates an issue for everyone else, right? And so I believe that yes, a deck being tier 0 is a problem. So how do we fix it? Well, I'll get to my personal idea in just a little bit, but the idea that I've been seen thrown around by a lot of people is nerf them into the ground, destroy the skill, don't let them come back, right? They want Onomats out. Some people hate the voice line, some people hate the deck, some people are tired of hearing the matchups, like some people are just done with it, right? And I've seen a lot of people calling for them to nerf the skill because the skill as it currently is allows you to effectively search your deck out on 2 different turns. You get 1 card out of the deck, right? Now this change was supposed to be a nerf to the skill, but if anything, I personally feel like it helped to just balance the skill out a little bit more. It was too top heavy, and that made it more balanced in my opinion. And the reason why I say balanced, you might be about to like throw your hands up in the air. Let me tell you why I say balanced, right? Onomats had their skill adjusted for a while before this happened. I don't think the skill is what caused this. The skill made it easier for this to compound, right? It's one of a number of factors that caused it to compound, but when they got the skill change, they didn't immediately take over the meta. They didn't immediately become the dominant tier 1 or even tier 0 deck. There were tons of tournaments, tons of weeks that went by where Onomats were like tier 3, right? If even like I don't think it's the skill's fault. The skill is powerful, and I know a lot of people think consistency skills, these anime skills, should be nerfed. I personally don't want the skills to be nerfed. I want to be in a strong meta. Rather than nerfing the skills, I just want everyone to start to get stronger skills, right? I'm enjoying this process of little by little, slowly but surely, more skills coming out to help more decks. If they made a skill like this for like Beast Warriors, that hold on, that would be terrible for Lunalights. I was thinking about Boojins. I love the Boojins. So if they gave us a skill like that that just helped generic Beast Warriors, like I would love that, right? So I don't think it's necessarily something to worry about. I want more of this, if I'm being honest with you. The only reason the anime skills feel unfair is because if a deck that you like isn't an anime deck, you might not get a skill for it, which sucks. But with time, I think more anime decks will come out, give you more variety, more options, more choices. We just have to wait it out, right? And the thing about this particular skill, I don't think it's particularly devastating. I think what the problem is that Onomats, I want us to be in a stronger meta, but everyone has to move gradually together. In the meta before Onomats became tier 0 was one of my favorite ones, because you had Harpies, you had Resonators, you had Onomats, even Shiranui, which I hate, but like they were going in constant flux, battling it out, duking it out for the top spot, and I thought that was really, really good. But Onomats took too big of a step forward ahead of everyone else, and they did it too quickly. So rather than the meta growing stronger as a whole and getting power crept, it was just one deck taking a massive leap. So how do we address that massive leap without destroying the deck? Because you have to bear in mind, I get how easy it is to be angry at a deck and hate a deck, but Duel Links is a game that a lot of people play and enjoy, and you have to think holistically when you think about game balance. A lot of people have said it before, but I'll just reiterate it here. You have to balance the game in which if there's a deck oppressing everyone, there's a person playing that deck and having a good time, and then there's a person playing against that deck and not having a good time. Now, this person over here would probably want that deck nerfed into the ground. That way they can have fun again. But the person who's enjoying the deck, well, if their deck gets nerfed into the ground, they're no longer having fun playing the game. So the most holistic way to balance it is to make it so that this deck up here isn't oppressive, but still exists and functions. That way, the people who aren't playing the deck can still have a good time. My friend I don't know if you heard that, my friend just texted me about hitting 1,000, and I'm happy today. Anyway, focusing, staying on point, right? So you have to kind of balance in a holistic way that makes it so that both players are accommodated, so that both players can be happy and continue to play the game. Konami hasn't always done this super well. For instance, in my opinion, they were too heavy-handed with Dark Magicians, and for too long they were very light-handed with Shiranui and other decks like that. So like they have to find a perfect balance. And with Onomats, I feel like they were getting close to that. I feel like they were close to achieving that good balance of making them powerful and making them fun and making them versatile without making them oppressive. Now here's where I think the mistake was, and here's where I think the change needs to happen. The problem with Konami is they don't play test their game, right? Or at least it feels like they don't sometimes, or maybe they just don't hire people who actually play the game to play test their game, right? Because Exabeetle was a mistake, right? Because Inzectors clearly are not doing a lot with it.
Are you sure about that?
So it was just a gift to Onomats. And what they probably didn't realize was that it would allow Onomats to make Rhinoceros. And that's where the problem starts to occur, because now they have this oppressive turn 1 play with non-targeted destruction, which means that Harpies can't set up, because since Rhinobus is non-targeting, they can't Swallow's Nest to avoid Rhinobus, and they need a Harpy on the field in order to use Harpies Hunting. Is it Harpies Hunting right? No, it's Elegant Egotist to get another monster on the field to make their XYZ Synchro Summon. It's an XYZ monster, their boss monster. Anyway, and so yeah, just like that, one of the top contenders, well, not I say top contenders, one of the relevant decks in the current meta just gets blinked out of existence. It can't really function, and the same thing's happening to a couple of other people. How do we fix this? In my opinion, you don't need to touch the skill. What you need to do, it's simple. Put a limit 2 on Rhinoceros and put a limit 2 on Exabeetle, right? Now, what does this fix? What does this cause? And what problems could arise from this? Well, the problem that it immediately fixes is Onomats. If both of these cards have a limit 2, well, Exabeetle and Rhinoceros have to come in a pair. Rhinoceros allows you to rank itself up. You can rank Rhinoceros up on top of an insect monster that's, I think, rank 5 or higher, which is why Exabeetle is a viable component of it. Rhinoceros has been in the game for ages, and Onomats never touched it because they couldn't, right? So if both of these cards are at limit 2, then that means you can only run one copy of each side by side, right? Now, you may think to yourself, well, how does that stop Onomats? Well, Onomats already have a limit 2 in the form of Gaga Sister, which means that they couldn't run Sister and both of these 2 cards. And you may think to yourself, okay, they'll run Sister and 1. as I just explained, they can't do that, right? You need one to make the other. Exabeetle is decent, I guess, but it's not the reason that there's a problem, right? The problem is they're going from Exabeetle straight into Rhinoceros, and so both of those cards are needed for that to work. They would have to drop Sister completely. And then you may say, oh, well, when Hatronade received a limit 2, some people did drop Sister. Here's the difference. In this situation, Sister is vital for them to make Rhinoceros, right? They can't really make it. There are some convoluted, complicated ways that they might be able to shift their levels, but Sister is the monster that allows them to make rank 6 XYZ summons. You normal summon Sister, special summon Zubaba, Bancho, Gaga, Coat, and then you make them both level 6, and then you make your XYZ summon. So if you take out Sister from the equation entirely, then yes, you do still have Rhinoceros and Beetle in your deck, but you can't really use them. So I don't think that that's really relevant. And so that just like that, they can no longer make Rhinoceros, but that's balance done in a way that everyone else can still use it, right? Because what decks are the cards relevant to, right? You have Digital Bugs. Well, Digital Bugs are a rogue deck. They don't have any core cards limited to 2. They would lose things like Treacherous Trap Hole, but in my opinion, that's a fair price to pay to have a balanced game overall. Same with Inzectors. No one's really playing them. They're a rogue deck. They don't have a limit 2, at least not that I'm aware of, right? So that would be a simple fix that allows these other 2 decks to still keep on playing the cards that are supposed to belong to them for fun, and then prevents this tier 0 deck from being able to use those cards in combinations with its core strategy. Now, another deck that's currently using Rhinoceros is Thunder Dragons. They don't use it as well, but they can still make rank 6 XYZ summons, so this just gives Thunder Dragons a free limit too. I don't think Thunder Dragons would be that oppressive with access to Rhinoceros. It's not as problematic as it is with Onomats. They're not as quick to it, in my opinion anyway, right? So I don't think it would be that big of a problem, and it would give them a limit 2, which again limits how diverse they can be with their deck building, would limit their strength if they chose to use it. Now, you might be like, oh, but I want to play multiple copies of Rhinoceros. No, you don't. Because in order to get Rhinoceros out in a rank 6 deck, you have to give up 2 of your extra deck slots, not just 1, right? So if you're running 2 copies of Rhinoceros and 1 copy of Beetle, that doesn't make sense, right? It's either 1 and 1 or 2 and 2, and if you're doing 2 and 2, then you've just given up 4 of your 7 extra deck slots, and at that point, I don't know what you're doing, and I'm not sorry. So 1 and 1 is the perfect combo. That's what most people are doing now anyway. It just ensures that Onomats no longer have access to it. I think that that's the route that Konami should take when trying to rebalance the game rather than nerfing Onomat. I don't want to see another deck nerfed into the ground for no reason, not just because I like it. I enjoy a meta where there's tons of viable contenders, right? I don't want Onomats to be that far ahead of everyone else, but I want them to exist. I don't want them to be, I feel like they were in a healthy spot. If they do this, if they apply this limit 2 and it still doesn't work, sure, then take further measures. But like I said at the beginning of the video, they had the skill adjusted, and they had the skill in its current form for a while before they became tier 0. It didn't become a problem, in my opinion, until they got Rhinoceros, because that's very impressive turn 1 setup and then too good of turn 2 follow-up, right? Leave the turn 2 follow-up, make the turn 1 less oppressive, right? That's my personal opinion, that's my personal suggestion. And then let's see how the deck evolves or devolves naturally. Introduce new decks into the game, power creep, all that kind of stuff. I think that the simple answer is a limit 2. So yeah, I think that that's the best way for Konami to try and rebalance Onomats. Just give this the good old college try first and see how it goes. That way the people who are enjoying the deck don't lose it completely, and the people who hate the deck or feel oppressed by it don't feel so oppressed. Let me know your thoughts and opinions on this, by the way, because this is a discussion video. I'm talking to you, you're talking to me. No, you're not. That's not how video recordings work, but I will talk to you in the comment section, most likely anyway. Ooh, we need a code word. We need a code word. If you made it this far in the video, and that way I know that you've discussed. I know that you've discussed, or you've heard my discussion. So your arguments are based on a relationship, an understanding, mutual respect for one another. The code word I should really think of these in advance. What's the first thing that comes to my mind? Mayonnaise. I don't know why that was the first thing to come to my mind, but it was. Type in brackets mayonnaise and then tell me what your response is or your thought process or what you think should be done to solve the Onomat Tier 0 problem, or if you even think that there is an Onomat Tier 0 problem. I'm open to hearing all of this because I'm not an authority up here. I'm just a dude playing children's card games. Like so your opinion matters too, so let me know how you're feeling about it. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you guys so much for 1,000 subscribers. Honestly, it really made my day. I'm grateful to everyone who's come along on the ride and all the hard work that's starting to pay off. So thank you very, very much. Have a wonderful day. I hope you've been entertained, informed, or had your brain picked a little bit, and bye.